Hi guys. About a month ago, Stray Kids had their staying at home fan meeting, and Felix was wearing this gorgeous knitted sweater. And because I have some experience knitting, I would say I'm probably like intermediate knitter. I wanted to recreate it. I would like to say I was just inspired by the sweater. It ended up not really looking like the original. The original is made by Mason Margila. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, I just was inspired by it. It ended up not really looking like it. This here was the inspiration for it.
Boom, go, boom, 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 boom. Oh. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, yeah.
But it ended up looking more like this sweater. In the past, I have knit the infamous Harry Styles cardigan and this sweater vest. I didn't use a pattern for the Harry Styles cardigan as at the time the pattern hadn't been released, but the pattern for the vest is linked down below. So the materials I used were 7 balls of Navia yarn, which is a Faroese 100% wool yarn that my mom gave to me. I used a royal blue and a white color. I knit on a 60 centimeter 3mm needle, like a circular needle, and towards the end I switched to a 15mm needle and just used multiple needles in a circle. I started by making 102 stitches. I actually had a very hard time making the stitches. I always have a hard time binding on stitches. It's just, I don't know why, it always takes me like 2 to 3 times to get it right. But yeah, I made 102 stitches and then I knit in a double purl for 6 rows before switching the color to the white color for 2 rows and then switching back to the blue and knit for 56 rows with the blue. I pretty much just followed the tutorial from Mena Knits, it's linked down below, for the body of the sweater, except I used a double purl instead of a stockinette stitch. I would just like to preface this by saying this is not a tutorial. I did not use a pattern. I just kind of made it up as I went. I have not written a pattern because I don't think I need to write a pattern because, I don't think anyone is gonna want to follow this. But yeah, this is just a intermediate knitter trying to knit something that I saw on the internet. I'm not gonna take credit for the original. I mentioned the original before again. I have it linked down below, although on the website I think the last time I checked they only had vests. They didn't have the sweater anymore. But you can buy the original if you want to. Yeah. The knitting process took me just over 2 weeks. I started on the 26th of March and I finished on the 6th of April. Yeah, and I have the days marked on the video just, to show, my process, yeah. While I was knitting, I watched a couple of things. I was watching Tale of a Thousand Stars. I haven't finished it, but I was watching it while I was knitting. I also watched a lot of Pixie Locks videos. I've just been obsessed with Pixie Locks recently. I've been watching her for a long time, but like I feel like I rediscovered her in my kind of spring break. So yeah, that was what I was doing while I was knitting. Again, when I started the decreasing for the armholes, I used the pattern I mentioned before. besides, using a purl stitch instead of a stockinette stitch. So yeah, I decreased on both sides using an SSK and a knit two together stitch. I don't know if they're called that because I was using a purl. I don't know if it just is like that if you're using a stockinette stitch, but I don't know. But yeah, that's what I used. But yeah, I alternated decrease and no decrease rows for 16 rows. You already know what I'm gonna say. I followed the tutorial link down below for the v-neck. I started by transferring half of the stitches onto a spare knitting ring. I used one of those like knitting rings you can switch out the needles, and then I used like a flat attachment to keep the stitches from like slipping off the needle. And yeah, so on the left I decreased using a knit two together and alternated for 36 rows, decreasing by 18 stitches. Then I knit for 14 more rows before binding off. I bound off in pattern, so I purled the purls and knit the knits. And then on the right side I just used the same method, except I used a slip knit or SSK decrease instead of a knit two together. I finished knitting the front piece on day 2 and I started on the back. The back is basically the same until you're finished decreasing for the armholes, and then after that I knit for 38 more rows and then did the decreasing or like the shaping for the neck hole. But the thing is, I don't know how to explain it, and like I said before, it's not a tutorial, and yeah, the decreasing I used is linked down below, like I said before. And like yeah, I don't know the terminology for knitting that well because like I am very not I learned how to knit in Iceland and I just know the Icelandic terms and like I don't even know that many Icelandic terms, so like yeah. On day 3, I finished the back and I started sewing the front to the back. Well, I sewed the front to the back. I used a horizontal stockinette seaming for the arm straps, and like I know, it didn't really work because like I was not knitting in stockinette, but I just kind of winged it. But it didn't turn out too bad. So yeah, and then the sides are sewed with a mattress stitch. Now for the sleeves. This was probably the biggest hurdle I had in the entire knitting process. In hindsight, I should have just looked at more tutorials. I looked at like one tutorial and then I just started and I asked my mom how she does it, and like she didn't really know because like I was knitting from top to bottom and she usually knits from bottom to top. So like yeah, I just kind of winged it. It ended up looking like this. This probably has a name, the pattern I used, but I just kind of winged it. I don't know what the name of it is. I'm also gonna be real with you guys. I had to start over on the first sleeve when I was like halfway done, which sucked just because I wasn't decreasing enough stitches, and if I had continued, I would have run out of yarn. So, and I can't access, I don't have access to the yarn that I was using because it's furries and I'm from Iceland and you can't really get it here. But okay, how did I do this? The pattern probably has a name, like I said before. But I started by picking up 136 stitches, and I knit in a double purl for six rows. I decreased by 4 stitches using the knit 2 together decrease. So basically 2 on either side of the first 2 stitches, if that makes sense. And then I knit 6 more rows and did the same steps and repeated that 9 more times, decreasing by 54 stitches. After that, I knit 6 more rows and I decreased by 6 stitches, so 3 on each side of the first 2 stitches. and I repeated that 4 times, decreasing by 36 stitches. After that, I knit 4 rows, decreased by 6, and did that 4 times, decreasing by 16 stitches. And then I knit 4 rows and decreased by 8 on one sleeve, but on the other sleeve I decreased by 6 just because I miscounted. But basically, in the end, you want to end up with 38 stitches. So yeah, one sleeve I decreased by 8, on the other I decreased by 6. And then I knit 4 more rows, decreased by 6, and then I knit 4 rows, and then switched colors for 2 rows, and then did 4 more rows, and then bound off in pattern. And then repeated that all on the other side. So, since this video is about Felix, I wanted to kind of talk about Stray Kids, and well, the video is not about Felix. The video is about a sweater Felix wore, but but since this video wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for Felix wearing that sweater. I wanted to talk about Stray Kids and like my journey as a stay, I guess. I've been a stay for like 6 months at this point. I've always followed Stray Kids, like since pre-debut. I would like pay attention to them. I always liked Felix a lot. I like casually would watch stuff like this. Is like Pop Sugar. Is it called Pop Sugar? The thing he was like a narrator or like a host for. I watched like a couple of those things back in the day. But I used to like I used to really like Felix, and like I found this like thing, the way you can like bookmark things on Instagram. I had this folder which I would just save videos and photos and stuff of JYP idols, and there were like periods where I would only save videos of Felix, which is like so weird to look on in hindsight, just because like yeah. But yeah, so I've been a stay for 6 months now. My bias, I don't know, man. I don't really have a bias. I always say that my bias is Chan, but realistically, I also really like Felix and Jongin. And just, but yeah, like I used to have a lot of friends who used to really like Stray Kids when they first debuted. And I remember when they were on their survival show, my friends talking in school about being so sad that like Mino got eliminated, and then a few weeks later they were talking about how Felix got eliminated, and they were like, oh my god, what's going on? And like yeah, like I have watched their survival show at this point, and like yeah, that was something else. Definitely probably just done for drama, because like there really wasn't that much wrong with, like, for example, in the beginning I don't really think there was anything wrong with Mino's skill level, because like what it just felt so out of the blue that they kicked out Mino. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's 3 years since it happened, so like there's no reason talking about it at this point. But yeah, I remember being around my friends at that point. And then since they debuted, I always like would listen to their comebacks, and just like there were some comebacks that I really liked, like for example My Pace. I really liked when My Pace came out, as well as Side Effects, and Miro. Yeah, and in hindsight I'm like, why the fuck didn't I just stand down? But I didn't. So the event that Felix wore the sweater in, I actually didn't watch it because I had work at the same time as it was happening, so I couldn't watch it. I've seen clips from it, obviously, because like stays share everything, even though we're not allowed to share anything. Like for example, like bubble messages, like at the beginning when Bubble first came out, I think I saw every single message the member sent before JYP made their like statement, like don't share Bubble messages. Before that happened, I would just see every single one of them on Twitter or TikTok, which is kind of funny in hindsight. Just like, hey, the company is telling you not to do this, but Stace did it anyways. But yeah, I actually kind of like that, because like obviously like fuck capitalism, let's not keep stuff behind a paywall. But yeah, obviously they need to make money and stuff, but like this is the first time I've ever been in a fandom that never took paywall seriously, and would just kind of, like for example at the concert, I remember there were so many people streaming it illegally. I did buy the concert, but yeah. I remember the first time I ever was in a fandom that like would share stuff illegally, was Iconics in like June 2019 when the whole BI situation was going on. They were so mad at YG that they would share basically Conic Zone, which is like a fan cafe, I think, for Icon, and they would share stuff from Conic Zone. And it got to the point where like one of the members called out the fans like, "Hey, don't share these photos." So yeah, that was something. On the collar, I picked up 146 stitches, and then I made sure that the front two stitches, like on the center of the V-neck, were stitches instead of pearls. So like I counted it out. Again, the tutorial below explains it perfectly. I purled for 2 rows normally, and then then I started the decreasing. I decreased by 2 stitches on each side of the center two stitches every other row, and then I did a total of 12 rows. And then just made sure to get the white in the middle, so I put the white on the 5th and 6th row. And then, yeah, so I did 12 rows and then bound off. I finished by removing the stitch markers and weaving in the ends. I needed way more stitch markers than I had, so I just used scrap pieces of yarn as stitch markers and then just cut them off. I also used way more stitch markers than I would normally, because I had to use them for the sleeves because I was just kind of making up as I went. So yeah. Another thing is like the stitch markers I always use are like you can open and close them. They're not just like circles that like you can't close, I guess. So I can like keep them on the stitches themselves instead of just keeping them between the stitches, because I know there are two types of stitch markers, which I actually just found that out recently. So yeah. So this was the final product. I know it doesn't look like the original at all, and I have another sweater that I compared to in the beginning that it kind of looks way more like, but I like my version, not better, but they're just very different. And like I said, this was just inspired by the sweater. It's not a tutorial, it's not like anybody's gonna follow this video, but yeah, I was very inspired by this YouTuber called Typical Bliss. She makes a lot of videos where she will knit sweaters she sees celebrities wearing, and just any like knitwear that she sees celebrities wearing, and I think it's very cool, and I'm very inspired by her. I think you guys should definitely check her out. She makes very nice videos, and yeah, it's very comforting to watch her videos. It feels like you're just hanging out with someone. She also does Twitch stream, I don't know that. Anyway, this is not like sponsored by her or anything, I just really like her. Yeah, but if you guys like this video, please comment down below if you want more knitting videos, because I love knitting. I'm always knitting. And I have definitely like more sweaters that I've saved to my Pinterest boards that I want to make, that I've seen other celebrities / idols wear. So yeah, if you guys like this video, please comment down below. And I know I say in every single video this was a little bit different, but like, yeah, I have never made a knitting video, even though I've been knitting for like 10 years, 12 years. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.